One thing that, the folks don't like is for black people to figure out a way to make money and be successful within the system. They judge how their position is based off of our position. So when we figure out a way to be successful, or too many of us being successful, say, oh, wait a minute, hold on. Their position is supposed to be a permanent underclass. And if too many of them have figured out a way in the system, then let's go change the rules. That's what they even happening right now with Deion Sanders. They are changing NCAA rules. All of a sudden, there was no problem with the rules. All of a sudden, now Deion shows up and use certain things, and now it's a problem. Now, they have a thing called the NIL deal, which means name, image, and likeness deals. And different companies that say like Nike, Puma, whoever, Adidas, they can do an NIL deal with a college player, whether football, basketball, whatever. Now, in the football system, they have the transfer portal. So if you don't want to be at the school no more, and maybe you're not getting playing time, whatever, you can get into the transfer portal. And if somebody pick you up in the transfer portal, you can go to this other school. Well, the transfer portal been there. NIL deals have been there, right? Way before Deion Sanders showed up. But all of a sudden with Deion Sanders, and this is his first year at Colorado, he haven't really had a good 2-3 years to recruit yet. Now, of course, I know, football is my thing. And the biggest issue with Colorado is their offensive line, their defensive line. They need some more linebackers for sure. But it's going to take time to recruit those players. So I think you give Deion a good 2-3 years of recruitment. I'll say about year 3, you better watch it with Colorado against some people. Because he going to get them. Because trust me, after this first year, these kids is going to be begging to get over there. And that's something else they don't like. They don't like that our black kids want to go play for Deion. They hate that. They want our black kids going to all their schools and playing for Nick Saban and all them other ones, right? When you got kids on there, like, man, I want to go over there to Colorado, man. Like, they having a fun time. They've been doing all kind of dirty things to Colorado and all that all of a sudden now because of Deion and his sons are there and the program they're building. Now, remember we said earlier how when we figure out a way to be successful at something, they try to change the rules so they can get us back in line when we can't earn anything or do anything. This thing with Deion has gotten all the way up to the United States Senate. Yes, the Senate. Now, Joe Manchin, Democrat out of West Virginia, he's teaming up with Senator Tuberville and all them other ones, right, to come up with legislation because he don't like what he's seeing with the NIL deal and the transfer portal. Listen, I'm not making that up. Let's roll that clip.
I know you're all here because you care as much as we all do about the student athlete. But, I think we're losing sight of the word student because basically allowing them to switch around as they can right now with portals and everything else, their chances of graduating is slim to none. And something has to be done. So here's what we've done. We have a piece of legislation, Senator Blumenthal, and I've shared it with him and all that. Myself and Tommy Tuberville, who's a coach at Auburn, we've put a bill together which is called the PASS Act. And what we're trying to do is kind of put some guardrails, if you will, for boosters and collectives to make sure they're associated with the schools and they're in sync with the schools for the purpose of making coordination there. We're not trying to harm any student from able to sell their value. We just don't believe it should be auctioned off school against school. Pretty simple. If you got that value and that talent, you're on TikTok, whatever you are, get yourself a lawyer, get yourself an agent, and go to it. Just don't come to West Virginia University and then basically say, they'll give me this much, and now Maryland's going to give me this much, or so-and-so. So we're trying to take that out of it. The other thing is moderating the transfer portal. I was fortunate enough to get a scholarship at WVU and got hurt very early. Back then in the 60s, they still kept me. They didn't have to. But right now, if I got a Division I scholarship, a Division I school scholarship, full scholarship, in one of the major sports, they're committed to keeping me for 4 years, giving me an education. They're that committed to education. The bottom line is I'm not committed to stay. I can leave the first month if I'm unhappy. They told me I'm going to play quarterback, and I go in, and all of a sudden you put me defensive back. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm going somewhere else. That is not what developing young athletes is about. They're going to have to be structured and coached somewhere. So we're putting guardrails on that. 3 years. Freshman, sophomore, junior. Junior year, after that, go anywhere you want to. That coach has had a chance. Now, there's still going to be the waiver provision. I've spoken to Commissioner Baker about all these things, and if you've seen our bill, if not, we'll make sure you receive it. Providing transparency of how these are operating, clarifying the NIL activities, which I just talked about, providing additional protection for student athletes. The bottom line is our main goal is to get them an education, get them a skill set. There's less than 2% to go into NFL or an NBA or whatever they may think they would love to do. We all have those grander dreams. Doesn't work out always. So that's the most important thing. The other thing, I don't know if you all have considered that most of these student athletes are receiving Pell Grants. So that means that the federal government is paying through Pell Grants for the most highest valued part of Scholastic is basically the money that comes in through the large sports programs. And that doesn't seem fair to me. All these schools have other students that really need the Pell Grants very badly, but there's enough value within the system that would pay for those students. I don't think anyone intended that to happen that way. It just has evolved. I don't know if you all are aware of that or not. It's been brought to my attention. I think that something has to be corrected too. Enforcing oversight, also health and safety. And our bill basically says you will take care of a student athlete 8 years after they finish their playing days or curriculum or graduate. And that means it has to be a sport-related injury to the sport they played. So it'd probably be in orthopedics, things of that sort. We're trying to make sure they have the full value of having a quality of a healthy education and have a healthy life to provide for themselves and their family, but also the experience of being a student athlete. They're coming in as professionals now. The NIL has basically just about destroyed what I know the system was and how it was supposed to be. Heck, I would have paid WVU to let me go play. And I'm telling you, the love of the sport, it still has to be there. If it's all about chasing the dollar from when you're on Pop Warner teams and your parents are pushing you and all these, that's not what it was designed to be. So if they're that good, go right in from high school to the pros. Don't come through this college system and basically have an auction bid. That's not what it was intended to be. So I know everyone has different opinions about this. I've heard everything from Players Union. You want to really screw a school and screw Title IX and everything else, try that one on. And Title IX is going to get hurt the worst. And no one's even looking at that to the point to where we're just worried about the two major sports that have all the money. So I've got a lot of problems, I really do, with this, seeing it up close and personal, seeing a lot of young men and women who've really made tremendous contributions to society, not through athletics after they finished the athletic scholarship they had. They did it because they were developed young people who were matured enough to go out and share their value. And that's been tremendous. I think, I've always said this, I never could figure out, when we were in school, we used to get tickets and we would sell the tickets and that gives us a little bit of spending money. We got $30 a month for laundry. That was it. I said, that's pretty good. We could almost live on $30 a month back in the 60s. So we felt good about all these things, but then we thought, man, that's a bonus. I didn't expect that. And then I says, so-and-so, some of my classmates and my ball players, their own parents couldn't afford to come watch them play. And if an alumni tried to pay to get the parent there, it was a violation. Crazy. I said, how come your mom's not here? Well, my grandma, really, she can't afford it. I just said, we've got to fix that. So I know you all have good intentions. Guys, you got to help us. If not, we're going to lose something, I think, one of the greatest pastimes that we've ever had. And no matter where you went to school, no matter if you played or not, you're still there. It's still part of you.
So you heard everything Joe Manchin had to say. All the issues and problems that we have in America, and you worrying about putting legislation to control black young men. Let me tell you something else that's a problem. What people not talking about. Those are the coaches are upset with Dion. They upset that they're not going to be able to recruit kids they used to recruit because they all want to go play for Deion. These other coaches have been conspiring with each other and analyzing and giving other teams pointers to how to beat Deion, right? Now, this is his first year. He took over from a team that was 1-11. They're 4-4 now? Okay. That's actually decent to me to say you had a 1-11 freaking season. So they conspiring against Deion and other coaches. The play in the game they recently had where I think Shador, so Deion's other son, Shiloh Sanders, had made a hit during the UCLA game. And they ejected him out the game for a clean hit. A clean hit. I played football. That hit wasn't nothing. It really wasn't. But they ejected him out the game, and then the folks want to sit up there and try to justify it. So you got that going on too, right? Every time we figure out a way to try to do anything, then in that same game, do you know they went in that locker room and stole those brothers' wallets, jewelry, and all kind of things at UCLA? Now, you know that was a setup. You get on the campus of UCLA and do that, and you're supposed to be one of these so-called schools, right? But then you talked about when that happened at Jackson State. Now look at it happened at UCLA. But you know that to me that's targeting, right? But also who's upset about this NIL deal with these players is the NFL. No, they're not publicly saying it, but I know they're mad. Let me tell you why they're mad at the NIL deal. Shador, it's the son, the quarterback. They say he was going to make up to $4 million on NIL deals this season alone. They say he stayed one more season, he can make up to $10 million. Well, only 2% of college football players go to the NFL. So if these kids could get into college, get NIL deals, they don't have to worry about going to the NFL. Like, okay, I play 4 years in college, I get my bag, I'm good. Forget the NFL. I don't need to go play that. I mean, I'll try to go to the NFL, but if I don't go, I'm good. My life is fine. They don't like that. They want to make billions and trillions of dollars off of these young black men. And they can't stand to see young black men get a piece of the pie. Now, of course, the NIL is for all players. It don't matter about nobody's color. We all know in America that when it comes to this system and racism, white supremacy, we know they don't want to see black men make a dime. We can't do nothing. We're supposed to be poor. Even when we work for it, we're still supposed to be poor. But the thing is, Joe Manchin, you one of the reasons why black folks sick of the Democrats. Because see right there, see y'all, that's Democrat racism right there. Because if the Democrats are so-called our friends, he'll be speaking against anybody against the NIL deal. He'll be saying, hey, that's not right. He said, because these young men come from poor urban communities, distressed communities, and if they could come and make some good money for their families, at the same time getting an education, why not? I'm in support of it. Why are we speaking against this for these young men? I told y'all always talking about the Republicans are racist. The Democrats are more racist to me than Republicans will ever be. Because they play in your face and say they are a friend, but look what Manchin is saying. And you know that's targeting Deion Sanders, his sons, and any other black players that come behind him. So yes, we should pay attention to what's going on in college sports and what's going on with Deion. This thing with Deion is bigger than Deion Sanders in Colorado. They view this as a racial thing. Don't let Deion start, and that's what they're afraid of too. They're afraid of Deion getting a super team. In other words, like he get all the players he wants in the transfer portal, all the kids he can recruit. Oh boy, they worried they'll never win a game. That's what they worried about, him building a super team, and these kids won't leave because, you know, hey, they get NIL deals, they fly, they don't want that. They don't want that. But look all the money, look into the contract of Nick Saban. Look all the money Nick Saban making with Alabama. But nobody says anything about all the money Nick Saban making, but all of a sudden, when Deion shows up, all of a sudden it's a problem. Everything, I told y'all, everything in this system has racism, white supremacy in it because they're controlling it. The only time you don't have it in it if they don't control it. It's just that simple. Maybe you should worry about the homeless population, in this country. Maybe you should worry about the things that affect Americans. This country is literally falling apart, and you worrying about an NIL deal. Well, let me know what y'all think about this situation, because like I say, that's that Democrat racism 101 all over again.